Have you ever been so invisible in your own home that your dreams, your future, your entire existence meant absolutely nothing? That was my life. My name is Maya, and for 23 years, I lived in a house where I was treated like a servant, while my younger sister was treated like royalty. But there was one day, one single moment when everything shattered. The day I said no. It was a Tuesday morning in April. I remember because I had circled that date on my calendar for weeks. Red marker, bold letters, interview day. This wasn't just any interview. This was for a marketing position at one of the top firms in the city. A job that could finally pull me out of the suffocating grip of my family's expectations. A job that could give me freedom. I woke up at 5 in the morning, my heart pounding with nervous excitement. I'd spent the entire previous night preparing, researching the company, rehearsing answers, ironing my only professional blazer 3 times until it looked perfect. This was my shot. My one chance to prove that I was more than just the daughter who existed to make everyone else's life easier. But in my house, my dreams were always secondary. Actually, they weren't even secondary, they were invisible. At 7:30, I was in the bathroom, carefully applying makeup when I heard my sister Amber's voice echo through the hallway. Maya, Maya. She didn't knock. She never did. She just burst into the bathroom like she owned every space I occupied. I need you to drive me to the mall, she announced, scrolling through her phone without even looking at me. Sarah's birthday is this weekend and I need the perfect outfit. We're leaving in 20 minutes. My stomach dropped. Amber, I can't. I have my job interview today. Remember? I told everyone last week. She finally looked up, her face twisted in annoyance. So? Your interview isn't until 11. You can drive me and come back. The mall is 40 minutes away. With traffic, it'll take over an hour, and I need time to mentally prepare to... God, Maya, stop being so dramatic. It's just a stupid interview. You've had like 100 of those and nothing ever happens anyway. Her words stung, but I stood my ground. This one is different. I've been preparing for months. I can't miss this opportunity because you want a new dress. Amber's eyes narrowed. She wasn't used to hearing the word no from anyone, especially not from me. Fine. Be selfish. I'll tell Dad you refuse to help me. And just like that, she stormed out. I should have known what was coming. I should have grabbed my keys and left the house right then. But I didn't. I underestimated just how little my family valued me. 10 minutes later, I heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. My father. His footsteps always sounded angry, but today they sounded like thunder. My door flew open so hard it slammed against the wall. Maya, get your keys. You're taking your sister to the mall. Now. I turned to face him, my hands trembling but my voice steady. Dad, I can't. I have a job interview that could change my entire future. Amber can take an Uber, or Mom can drive her, or she can go literally any other day. His face turned red. That vein in his forehead started throbbing, the one that always appeared before he exploded. You will do what I tell you to do under my roof. Dad, please listen to me. This interview means everything. I didn't get to finish. He crossed the room in 2 strides and grabbed my arm so hard I felt his fingers dig into my skin like claws. You ungrateful brat. After everything we've done for you, you can't even help your sister? I'm not being ungrateful. I just have something important. That's when it happened. He shoved me backward with such force that I flew across the room and slammed against the wall. My head hit first a sickening crack that made my vision blur. Then my body crumpled to the floor like a broken doll. The room spun. Pain exploded through my skull and radiated down my spine. I could taste blood in my mouth from where I bit my tongue. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process what had just happened. My own father had thrown me against a wall because I refused to cancel my job interview to drive my sister to the mall. I heard my mother's voice from downstairs. Is everything okay up there? But she didn't come up. She never came up when Dad lost his temper. She'd learned long ago to just stay away and pretend nothing was happening. Dad stood over me, breathing hard, his fists still clenched. Get up, get your keys, take your sister, or you can pack your bags and get out of my house. I looked up at him through tears I refused to let fall. In that moment, something inside me broke. Not my spirit, no, something else. The part of me that still believed family meant love. The part that still hoped they'd see me as valuable. That part shattered into a million pieces. I'll take her, I whispered. He nodded, satisfied, and walked out of my room like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just assaulted his own daughter. Like this was perfectly normal. I sat there on the floor for 5 minutes, my whole body shaking. My head throbbed. My arm already showed purple bruises in the exact shape of his fingers. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to disappear. But then I looked at my phone. 8:47 a.m. My interview was at 11. If I took Amber to the mall, waited for her, and drove back, I'd never make it in time. I'd have to call and cancel. Again. Just like I'd canceled things before a college acceptance meeting, a friend's graduation, a part-time job orientation, all because my family needed me to be their driver, their cook, their maid, their emotional punching bag. Not this time. I stood up slowly, every muscle screaming in protest. I grabbed my bag, my resume folder, and my car keys. I walked downstairs where Amber was waiting by the door, still on her phone, completely oblivious to what had just happened. "Took you long enough?" she muttered. "Let's go." I looked at her. Then I looked toward the kitchen where Mom was pretending to be busy. Then toward Dad's office where he'd already returned to his computer. And I said the 3 words that would change everything. "I'm leaving. Goodbye." Amber's head snapped up. "What? Maya, stop being ridiculous." But I was already walking out the door. Not to drive her to the mall. To drive myself to my interview. To drive myself toward a future where I mattered. I drove with tears streaming down my face, my hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. My head pounded with every heartbeat. I probably looked like a mess, and I definitely had a visible bruise forming on my arm, but I didn't care. I was going to that interview even if I had to walk in looking like I'd just survived a war. Because in a way, I arrived at the office building with 20 minutes to spare. In the parking lot, I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. My eyes were red and puffy. There was a small bump on my head where it hit the wall, hidden under my hair. The bruises on my arm were dark purple now, so I rolled down my sleeves and buttoned them at the wrist. I took 3 deep breaths. Then I walked inside. The interview was supposed to be the most important moment of my professional life, and part of me worried I'd mess it up because of what had just happened. But something strange occurred instead. When the interviewer asked, "Why do you want this position?" I didn't give some rehearsed corporate answer. I told the truth. Because I need to build a life where I'm valued for my skills, my dedication, and my potential. Not where I'm treated as someone who exists only to serve others. I need independence. I need dignity. And I'm willing to work harder than anyone else to earn it. The interviewer, a woman in her 40s named Susan, studied me for a long moment. I think she saw something in my eyes, desperation, maybe, or determination, or both. She smiled. "That's the most honest answer I've heard in 5 years of conducting interviews." The rest of the interview felt like a blur, but in a good way. I was focused. Sharp. Every question she asked, I answered with confidence I didn't even know I had. When it ended, Susan stood up and shook my hand. "We'll be in touch by the end of the week, but between you and me, Maya, I think you'd be a perfect fit for our team." I walked out of that building feeling like I could finally breathe. For the first time in years, I felt like I existed, like I mattered. But then I checked my phone. 47 missed calls, 63 text messages, all from my family. "Dad, get home now." "Mom. Maya, please don't do this. Your father is furious." "Amber, you're such a selfish bitch. I hope you're happy." "Dad again. If you're not home in 1 hour, don't bother coming back." I sat in my car and read every message, each one more demanding, more threatening, more proof that they saw me as property, not as a person. And that's when I made my decision. I wasn't going home. Not today, not tomorrow, maybe not ever. I started the car and drove in the opposite direction, toward my best friend Casey's apartment, toward safety, toward freedom. Casey opened her door, took one look at my face, and pulled me into the tightest hug I'd ever received. "Oh my God, Maya, what happened?" I told her everything. The job interview, my father's violence, my decision to leave. She didn't interrupt once. She just listened, her eyes filling with tears as I spoke. When I finished, she said exactly what I needed to hear. "You're staying here, as long as you need. You're safe now." For 3 days, my phone didn't stop ringing. My family called, texted, even showed up at Casey's apartment building, but she'd already warned the doorman not to let them up. Mom left voicemails begging me to come home, insisting Dad didn't mean it, that he was just stressed, that families work through things. But I was done working through things. I was done being the person everyone stepped on. On Friday, Susan called. Maya, we'd like to offer you the position. Can you start Monday? I almost cried with relief. Yes. Absolutely yes. Thank you so much. That job became my lifeline. It wasn't just income, it was validation. Proof that I had value beyond being someone's driver or punching bag. Within 2 months, I'd saved enough to rent a small studio apartment. It wasn't much, just one room with a tiny kitchen and bathroom, but it was mine. No one could take it away from me. I blocked my family's numbers. All of them. I needed space to heal, to rebuild myself without their toxic voices in my head telling me I was selfish, ungrateful, worthless. But here's the thing about revenge. Real revenge isn't about hurting the people who hurt you. It's about becoming so successful that your absence speaks louder than any words ever could. And that's exactly what I did. I threw myself into my work. I stayed late, took on extra projects, learned everything I could. 6 months later, I got promoted to senior marketing coordinator. A year after that, I was leading campaigns for major clients. I was making more money than my father ever had. I was respected, appreciated, valued. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual acquaintances that things at home had fallen apart. Without me there to manage everything, the household crumbled. Mom couldn't keep up with all the tasks I used to handle. Amber dropped out of college after 1 semester because no one was there to push her or help her study. Dad's business started struggling because he'd relied on me to manage his scheduling and paperwork work I'd done for free for years. They'd built their comfortable lives on my back. And when I left, everything collapsed. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. But the real turning point, the moment my revenge became complete, happened 2 years after I left. I was attending a marketing conference downtown when I ran into someone I never expected to see. My father. He was there as a vendor, running a small booth for his struggling business. And he looked tired, defeated, older than I remembered. He saw me, and the look on his face said everything. For a moment, we just stared at each other. The busy conference hall buzzed around us, people laughing, networking, making deals, but in that moment, it felt like we were the only 2 people in the world. Dad spoke first. Maya. Just my name. Nothing else. Like he didn't know what to say after 2 years of silence. I could have walked away. I probably should have. But I'd imagined this moment so many times, rehearsed what I'd say if I ever saw him again. So, I stayed. Hi, Dad. He looked down at his booth, half empty, poorly designed, desperate. Then back at me. You look good. Successful. I am successful. No thanks to you. He flinched. Maya, your mother and I, we've wanted to reach out, but what? But you were too proud? Too stubborn? Too unwilling to admit you treated me like garbage for 23 years? People nearby started glancing over. Dad noticed and lowered his voice. Can we talk somewhere private? Part of me wanted to say no, to walk away and let him drown in his failure. But another part, the part that still remembered being that little girl who once loved her father, needed closure. We found a quiet corner near the back of the venue. Dad started talking, and for the first time in my life, I heard him say things I never thought I'd hear. I was wrong, Maya. About everything, about how I treated you, about that day. He gestured vaguely, like he couldn't bring himself to describe throwing me against a wall. I let my anger control me. I let your mother and Amber take advantage of you because it made my life easier. I failed you as a father. I waited. There had to be more. After you left, everything fell apart. The house, the family, my business, all of it. And I realized something. You were the glue holding everything together. You were the one sacrificing everything while the rest of us just took. Tears filled his eyes. Real tears. I'm so sorry, Maya. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. And I hate myself for it every single day. I stood there, feeling emotions I thought I'd buried. Anger, sadness, relief, closure. You're right, I said quietly. You don't deserve forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. What you did to me, what all of you did, it broke something in me that took years to rebuild. But you know what? Leaving was the best decision I ever made. Because I finally learned what I'm worth, and it's so much more than you ever gave me credit for. Dad nodded, tears streaming down his face now. I know. I'm proud of you. I should have told you that every day. But I'm telling you now. I'm proud of who you've become. Thank you, I said. But I became this person in spite of you. Not because of you. I walked away from that conversation feeling lighter than I had in years. Not because Dad apologized words are easy, but because I finally got to say everything I'd held inside. I got to tell him exactly how his actions affected me. And I got to do it as a successful, independent woman who no longer needed his approval. A few months later, I received a letter from Mom. She'd heard about the conference encounter and wanted to add her own apology. She admitted she'd been a coward, standing by while Dad abused me emotionally and physically. She said Amber had finally realized how much I'd done for the family and felt terrible. I appreciated the letter, but I didn't respond. Because here's what I learned through all of this. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they share your DNA. Family isn't about blood, it's about respect, support, and love. And if your family doesn't give you those things, it's okay to walk away. My real family now is Casey, who gave me a safe place when I had nowhere to go. It's my colleagues at work who celebrate my achievements. It's the friends I've made who treat me with kindness and dignity. That's family. As for my career, 3 years after that job interview I refused to cancel, I became the youngest marketing director in my company's history. I bought my own house. I built a life I'm proud of. A life where I'm valued. Where I matter. My sister Amber eventually reached out through social media. She apologized genuinely, and we've started slowly rebuilding a relationship on my terms this time. Mom and I talk occasionally, though it's surface level. Dad and I haven't spoken since that conference. Maybe one day we will. Maybe we won't. And I'm okay with either outcome. Because my worth isn't determined by whether my family accepts me. It's determined by how I value myself. That day I said no, the day I refused to cancel my job interview. The day I chose myself, it wasn't just about one interview or one trip to the mall. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, my future. And to anyone watching this who feels invisible in their own home, who sacrifices their dreams to please others, who's been told they're selfish for having boundaries, listen to me carefully. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not ungrateful for demanding respect. You are not wrong for walking away from people who hurt you, even if they're family. Your dreams matter. Your future matters. You matter. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no, stand your ground, and walk away from people who refuse to see your worth. That interview I refused to cancel, it didn't just give me a job, it gave me my life back. And I would make that same choice 1,000 times over. My name is Maya, and this is how I chose myself over everything and won.